Welcome, everybody. This is our weekly interfaith meeting, number 245, and a little later on, I'll properly introduce our speaker, Sir Kirti Bhatt. And welcome, everybody. This is, and I'm getting some echo from someone, just a moment. And a little later on, we'll work out where that's coming from. I might have to mute you, Vicente. All right. And just a bit of housework. We're here to focus on unity where possible, instead of focusing on differences like some groups. Please mute yourself unless you're speaking. And our primary purpose is to learn. Obviously, we're learning from the presenter. And the co-founder of this group, Siva Perry, like to remind us very often when we forgot the idea of unity, this quote: "Whether through deeds or words, the merit of your every contribution to social well-being lies first in your resolute commitment to discover that precious point of unity, where contrasting perspectives overlap and around which contending peoples can coalesce." So I'd like to ask Tracy to acknowledge country, please, and then we'll start with music, 7 readings, and another piece of music.
Thank you, Colin. So we're all on different countries. I live on Worimi people's country north of Newcastle. I know that there's the Gadigal people and the Wongal peoples that whose country you live on. This idea of acknowledging country has been practiced in this continent and the surrounding islands for tens of thousands of years and generations. And it's all about relationship, about true custodianship, and that is to accept responsibility for caring for all life within its boundaries. And you don't get to choose which life you care for, it has to be for all. That's from one of the elders from up here where I live in Worimi country, but it could be said of elders past and present for all the countries that we live on. But we take the time before each meeting to give that respectful acknowledgement and hope that we can inherit that mindset to be respectful to all life, care for all life, and think about the future generations when we make our decisions and we have our conversations. We need unity for prosperity. We need cooperation and mutual respect. And Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people have been practicing that in this area. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Tracy.
Never may brother hate brother, or sister hurt sister. United in heart and in purpose, commune sweetly together. I will utter a prayer for such concord among family members as binds together the gods, among whom is no hatred. I bind you together. Assemble for worship of the Lord like spokes around a hub. Hindu writings.
In the name of God, I praise and invoke the Creator, our Master, the Radiant, Glorious, Omniscient, Maker, Lord of Lords, King over all kings, watchful, Creator of the universe, Giver of daily bread, powerful, strong, eternal, Forgiver, merciful, loving, mighty, wise, holy, and nourisher. May his just kingdom be imperishable. The various friends' writings.
Just as with her own life, a mother shields from hurt her only child, let all embracing thoughts for all that live be time, and all embracing love for all the universe. In all its heights and depths and breadth, unstained love, unmarried by hate within, not rousing enmity.
Until the Spirit be poured upon us from on high, and the wilderness become a fruitful field, and the fruitful field be caused for a forest. Then justice shall dwell in the wilderness, and righteousness shall abide in the fruitful field. And the work of the righteousness shall be peace, and the effect of righteousness, quietness, and confidence forever. Jewish writing, Isaiah 15:17.
Lest them grieve persecute you, lest them curse not. Rejoice with them that do rejoice, and weep with them that weep. Be of the same mind one toward another. If it be possible, as much as liveth in you, live peaceably with all men. Christian writings, Romans 12:9-18.
Moreover, to Moses gave we the book, and we raised up apostles after him. And to Jesus, son of Mary, gave we clear proofs of his mission, and strengthened him by the Holy Spirit. So oft then, as an apostle cometh to you with that which your souls desire not, swell ye with pride, and treat some as impostors, and slay others. Islamic writings.
Consort with the followers of all religions in a spirit of friendliness and fellowship. Of old it had been revealed, love of one country is element of the faith of God. The tongue of grandeur had Yahweh in the day of his manifestation proclaimed, "It is not his to boast who loveth his country, but it is he who loveth the world." Baha'i Writings, Baha'u'llah.
In a bombed out room in Belfast, a young boy is crying. He's alone and he don't understand how the teachings of one book, built on love and understanding, could cause the hurt and killing in his land. In an old part of Jerusalem, two children are playing. They run and laugh the way that it should be. But one will wear the star and one will wear the crescent. They'll grow up and change from friends to enemies. But we are one. The flowers of one garden, we're one. Leaves of one tree. Let the walls come down and stand here together. We are one family. In a Pakistani village, a young boy on crutches takes a fall and lies helplessly there. And he holds out his hand, but no one will take it. They won't touch him or the clothes that he wears. On a side street in Selma, a black child is sitting in a squad car, protected from the whites. 'Cause they're burning a cross to send her a message. You can see the fear in her eyes. We are one. The flowers of one garden, we're one. The leaves of one tree. Let the walls come down. Stand here together. We are one family. Thunder in our hearts, how we were all created from the same dust, same dust. Searching we will find that the spirit of the age has come to find us, find us. We are one. The flowers of one garden, we're one. The leaves of one tree. Let the walls come down. Stand here together. We are one family. The flowers of one garden, the leaves of one tree. Let the walls come down and stand here together. We are one family.
Thank you very much to all the readers. And a very great pleasure to welcome our presenter tonight. Sukirti Bhatta is a Burwood Municipal Councillor. She is of Nepali origin and is a Project Officer, Curriculum Reform Program, New South Wales Department of Education, Policy and Projects, and a community advocate. She has a master's degree in human rights from the University of Sydney. And the topic tonight is From Nepali Temples to Australian Diversity, My Lived Experience in My Sanatani Faith as a Bridge to Social Harmony. I'm very interested myself to learn more about that. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Colin. Let me just try my knack at technology, see if that works.
Also, she works with the multicultural. You can correct it later.
I will. Thank you, Vasanta. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. So yes, thank you for correcting that. So currently, I've been with the New South Wales education for over 8, nearly 10 years now, different portfolios. So recently I did make the move to multicultural education, and I'm part of the team as a community engagement officer. But yes, thank you, Vasanta. So namaste and a very good evening, everyone. Before I begin, I would like to acknowledge that I am joining this meeting from the traditional lands of the Wangal people. And for those of you joining from Australia, would also like to acknowledge the various traditional lands from where you all are joining the meeting today. I would like to pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging. Vasanta, thank you so much for extending this invitation to me to be part of this wonderful platform of interfaith prayers and discussion. It is my absolute privilege and honor to be presenting today. In today's world, where unfortunately differences are highlighted to create division and mistrust, I cannot reiterate the importance of platforms such as this that promotes harmony, respect, and also reinforce our own faiths. So I commend each one of you for creating a platform like this, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart. So today I will be speaking about my faith and how that has shaped me and guided me, and who I am today. I must say it is because of that belief in my faith. So talking about the beginning, I was born in Kathmandu, Nepal. So if people don't know where Kathmandu is the capital city of Nepal. From the moment I can remember, I've grown up knowing that Nepal is also called the Devbhumi, which translates to the land of the gods. And more specifically, it's also known as the land of Lord Shiva. In our Sanatan Dharma, we have a main 3 deities that represent the fundamental forces that governs the universe's continuous cycle of creation, preservation, and destruction. So we have Lord Brahma, who is the creator, Lord Vishnu, who is a preserver, and Shiva is known as the destroyer. Together, they do form what we know as the Trimurti. So Nepal, being the land of Lord Shiva, is a deeply profound belief of Nepalis, and that is rooted in our history, in our geography, in our mythology, and of course, a living culture as well. I feel absolutely blessed to be born in a city known as the City of Temples. Kathmandu is also the home of Pashupatinath Baba, one of the most sacred Shiva temples in the entire world. And you can see the picture of the temple on the slide as well. In terms of the facts, the actual era of, when the Pashupatinath temple, since when the actual time of the temple is unknown, but I think with the historians have said it is around the 5th century, most likely around the 400 BC timeline. So it is considered as one of the oldest temples in Nepal, and it is also listed as the World Heritage, UNESCO World Heritage Site. So for most Nepalis, this temple is the cornerstone of a spiritual and cultural relationship. It is not just about a spiritual abode, but an integral part of our Nepali culture that is woven into the fabric of our society. My earliest childhood memories are of visiting this Pashupatinath temple with my family. It felt like it was a place of our sanctity where we went to seek blessings, and we also went there to seek solace and comfort. I remember chanting from the earliest memories that I have, saying Om Namah Shivaya, which translate to saying, I bow to Shiva. And it can also mean to say that we all are bowing to our own consciousness, because Shiva resides in each one of us as our own consciousness. And this is the ultimate truth of our belief that the divinity actually resides in each one of us, or each living being. I wanted to talk a little bit about my family as well. So my family, I'm proud to say that at the crux of who we are a family of deep-rooted faith and devotion. Each home, regardless of your faith and your, where you come from, will have your own traditions and rituals to mark the auspicious occasions. But my core childhood memories of how my family or my parents would observe these days of religious significance with such rich customs and rituals and traditions. And that really ignited and reinforced my faith in powers that are much beyond me. We belong to an extended big family, and most of the religious days of significance and festivals was about coming together on a shared sense of devotion and belongingness. It was an integral part or an integral element that bound us together. I remember the many day trips to, my apologies. I remember the many day trips that we did to the various temples that were followed by family picnics. I have real vivid memories of my parents chanting their prayers with such sincerity that it automatically rubbed on me. One thing that I would like to reiterate here is that I, being the youngest in the family, I don't ever recall being enforced to say that I had to do something to follow this particular faith. It wasn't something that they told me that I had to do. It was basically my own observation of my family's actions that they were doing that reinforced in me my belongingness to this particular faith, because I had actually witnessed their faith myself. From the moment I learned to understand my surroundings, I came to realize that this is not a religion to follow, so to say, but it's actually a way of life. It's a way of living itself. From the daily rituals in my own homes, or as I stepped out to commute to wherever I'm going, I think I can speak for all of the Nepalis when I say that, we're always welcomed by this familiar sounds of the bells ringing, the enchanting smells of the incense sticks, or the murmurs of the people in their own zones and who are chanting their own prayers. And everybody's bowing down to the numerous temples that you can find en route to their businesses. And that, I believe, is what makes Kathmandu, my birth city, so unique. The fact that this profound spiritual presence is embedded within our daily ritual is what really humbles me as well. Firstly, I would also like to make a note of why I'm saying a Sanatani rather than I am a Hindu. I think most of us are very familiar with the term Hindu, but I do understand that this is a term that was given to us externally. While I used to really call myself a Hindu, I'm making a conscious effort in using the term, saying I am a Sanatani. And instead of saying, what religion, you're a Hindu religion, I'm making a conscious effort to say we belong to the Sanatan Dharma, because I think that is what it reflects, its authenticity as well. So what is Sanatan Dharma? Before I can delve into that, I would like to make a disclaimer that I'm not a spiritual intellect, but this is just my interpretation of how I've understood this to be through my own lived experiences. For me, Sanatan is understood as something that is eternal and ageless, with no beginning or an end. And when we talk about dharma, I believe that it's basically just, I understand it as righteousness or our duty or my duty. We do have the real core principles at the very at the very crux of it, which we call dharma, which is a righteousness. We have the karma that everyone talks about, which is all about the cause and effect, and the pursuit of spiritual knowledge. And I understand that spiritual knowledge is the awareness of this universal consciousness or the divine energy that permeates the entire universe and exists within all living beings. As a Sanatani, I understand that there is not one rigid path or a spiritual path to that spiritual realization of the ultimate truth. There are different pathways to get there. So I think we would all be very familiar with the bhakti or the devotion path, such as having a devotion to Lord Shiva or to Sri Krishna. You also have the path of jnana, or the knowledge, the path of knowledge, which I understand is what Advaita Vedanta is as well. You have karma, that is, seeking that through selfless action, raja through meditation, and through the pathway of yoga, such as Patanjali Yoga, through methods that one can get certain experience that validates the claims of religion. For a Sanatani, as I understand, is that Sanatan Dharma provides us with a guidance on everything from our daily routines to achieve our goals of life. In our Dharma, we have the 4 goals of life, which we also call the Purusharthas. So our Dharma is our moral duty. Then we also have Artha. Then we have Kama. And then we have moksha. So artha relates to the prosperity and material well-being. Kama is about the pleasures and desires of life. And moksha is the spiritual liberation of freedom or liberation from the bondage of body and mind. The one thing about us when we talk about the moral duty is what we have done in Sanatan Dharma. There is a clear demarcation of the various stages of life. So we believe that at the very beginning, we do have the stages of a student life, which we call the brahmacharya, where our duty or a moral duty is to learn and focus on character development. Then we move on to the householder stage or the grihastha, where the focus is about raising a family, producing the wealth, and contributing to society. Then we have the transition to vanaprastha or the retirement, which basically translates to withdrawal from our worldly affairs. And finally, the sannyasa stage, the renunciation of all worldly attachments with a sole focus on leading towards that spiritual liberation. And we cannot talk about Sanatan Dharma without the foundational texts. I'm not sure if all of you know about it, not the main 4 texts that we refer to are, of course, the 4 Vedas. We have the Rig Veda, the Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, and Artha Veda. They are the fundamental texts and the sacred scriptures of Sanatan Dharma traditions. They deal with the rules, the mantras, and contain ritualistic instructions. The conclusion of the Vedas are in the Upanishads, which is also called the Vedantas. The Upanishads basically serve as the foundational text in understanding the deeper philosophical essence of the Vedas, leading to that spiritual enlightenment. When I first came to Australia, and when people asked me as to what my religion is, and I did say Hindu, the initial curiosity for people were all about the gods and goddesses and the numerous gods and goddesses that we have. So I've already spoken to you initially about the 3 Murti, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, who are the key deities in Sanatan Dharma. But it is said that there are approximately 33 million gods and goddesses that exist within the Sanatan Dharma. So I'm not sure whether you all are more familiar with it, but the more commonly known gods that we know of are Lord Ganesha, who is also referred to the elephant-headed god. We also have goddess Lakshmi, who is the goddess of wealth. We have Saraswati, who's the goddess of knowledge and wisdom. So they are the different types of gods and goddesses that we have. But what I believe is that by having so many gods and goddesses, it is also reiterating the importance of that non-rigidity and allowing us Sanatanis to choose the form that I resonate with or we resonate with more closely and feel that connection with, and that we would like to worship on our journey to spiritual liberation. Now, talking about Sanatan Dharma in Nepal. So what does it mean in Nepal? Like, when we talk about Hindus or Sanatans, the automatic attention goes to India, of course. Well, we are all Sanatanis. Our ways of, practicing it, of course, varies a little bit. So in Nepal, our faith is present absolutely everywhere. It's physically present in our temples. It's culturally present in our daily lives. And it's spiritually present in us as people. We have a population of nearly 30 million, and over 80% are Sanatanis. Our religion dates back 4,000 years. Nepal was until 2008 the world's only Sanatani kingdom, and the monarchy was seen as the protector of our dharma, with the king himself revered as a reincarnation of Lord Vishnu. In Nepal, we have a very strong and openly integrated tantric practices, especially in the Kathmandu Valley where I'm from. And that actually involves specific rituals using mantras, which are also the chants, yantras, which are known as geometric diagrams, mudras, which are the hand gestures, and specific offerings to channel divine energy. The worship of goddess Durga and Bhairav often involve these rituals. Our ways of practicing this faith is also very ritualistic, meaning our faith is expressed and it's experienced not just through meditation or philosophical study, but through a rich and elaborate tapestry of external actions like daily pujas, ceremonies, observances that engage all of our senses, whether it's on a daily, weekly, monthly, or a yearly basis. In Nepal, we have a very strong focus on in worshipping the female deities Shakti, which is the divine feminine principle. And this is exemplified in our worship of Kumari, a living goddess. You would have seen it in the news recently that a new Kumari has been chosen. She is believed to be the manifestation of the divine female energy, Shakti, and is said to be the incarnation of goddess Taleju herself. This tradition has its roots in the Malla period of Nepali history, dating back to the 17th century, and is a beautiful blend of both the Sanatani and the Buddhist beliefs. Another important point to be noted when talking about Sanatan Dharma in Nepal is the role of Lord Bhairav in Nepal. It is profound, multifaceted, and central to cultural and spiritual life. He's more than just a deity. He is a divine protector and unifying cultural symbol. Bhairav was historically known as the guardian of the kingdom. And in the tantric worship, he is the fierce manifestation of Lord Shiva, representing the raw, untamed, and destructive aspect of the divine necessity for transformation. Lord Bhairav's role is not limited to be worshipped in temples. It actually plays a central, vital role in major festivals such as Indra Jatra, which is a key festival in Kathmandu. In Nepal, social harmony among diverse religions is maintained through a deep-seated culture of mutual respect, supported by shared traditions, inclusive festivals, and legal frameworks as well. Another unique feature is that we have the perfect harmony of Sanatan Dharma and Buddhism in Nepal. The line between the two is exceptionally fluid. Deities are shared, worshipped interchangeably, for we believe Buddha is a reincarnation of Lord Vishnu. We visit each other's temples and stupas, acknowledging and respecting each other's significance and reverence. Sites like Swayambhunath Stupa, Bodhanath Stupa, temples like Muktinath and Pashupatinath, they attract pilgrims from both faiths, and rituals from each other are respected and incorporated as well. Similarly, talking about social harmony, another important mention is that of the Pote Bazaar. And you can see in the slide, I've got the various pictures there on the left, which is my left, it will be on the right on your side, is the Kumari. Then we have Lumbini, the birthplace of Buddha. Bodhanath Stupa to the right. Then we have the Janaki Mandir on the left. And in the middle is the Pote Bazaar that I'm talking to you about. So Pote refers to a traditional Nepali glass beaded necklace, primarily worn by a married woman as a symbol of the marital status and connection to their husband. This vibrant necklace is a significant part of the Nepali culture, representing tradition, matrimonial devotion, and blessings for a husband's long life, and often features colors like red, green, and yellow, which are also very auspicious colors. No wedding is ever complete without the Pote. And in Nepal, it is our Muslim community known as the Musmas who are prominent artisans and traders. And they are the ones who are responsible for this Pote Bazaar. And they are the ones who create this beautiful ornament, which is Pote, and we all are very proud of it. So this is yet another example of social cohesion at its finest in Nepal. Our festivals such as Vijayadashami, Tihar, Loshar, Indra Jatra, Mahashivratri, Maghi, or Eid, they are celebrated by all, not just as religious observances, but powerful social acts that reinforce social harmony. Nepalis use the power of shared ritual, collective joy, and mandated compassion to constantly repair and reinforce the bonds of community. This shared space and practices provide natural opportunities for interactions and understanding, moving beyond tolerance to active participation in shared cultural life. Coexistence of religion is not only talked about, but also a practice of our daily lives. So it is our lived experiences. This makes Nepal an exceptional example of religious coexistence. So moving on to my introduction to Christianity, it's family tradition that we all went off to a boarding school. So in light of that, I went to a boarding school in year 3. I went to this beautiful school called St. Mary's Convent in Nainital, a small hill station in India. This school is associated with the Roman Catholic traditions. The school is managed by the Sisters of the Congregation of Jesus, founded by Mary Ward, a 17th century English woman. The school provides an education rooted in Catholic values, promoting interreligious harmony and responsible citizenship among its students. The first thing I remember at that young age was I remembered when I heard the bell early in the morning. It wasn't for the routine show of devotion, but was simply a tool to wake up the children in their dormitories. And when waking up, the lingering smell of the incense sticks was definitely absent. However, something did strike a chord. It was a chant of a prayer before starting our daily routine for the day. I noticed that after getting ready, while most of us went to the study rooms, some of the girls went elsewhere. It's strange that how when we are young, very little away from home in a new place, our observations become quite a radar. Made a few inquiries as to why the others weren't studying and heading elsewhere, I got to know that they were off to church for their morning mass. As I settled in, I became familiar with the prayers, the hymns, and while in the beginning it may have been very alien to me, it became a part of my daily routine. We used to go to mass on special occasions, and I was very curious about this space when I went to church. It was a very stark contrast to the hustle and bustle of our temples, but it had the same serenity and calmness that I had experienced in a Buddhist monastery back in Nepal. So the things that were introduced to me was, during Easter, we were shown a movie around, I think it was the Jesus of Nazareth, that allowed me an opportunity to understand the faith of my dear friends. And of course, with that, it was the introduction of chocolates, how that's very close to Easter, because in Nepal, whenever we have dasai, it also relates to sale rotis, which is a yummy snack to go with it. So there is that similarity, regardless of where you are or what religion you follow. It was at St. Mary's where I learned Our Father, as well as the Hail Mary, which until today, I remember very dearly. it was also at this amazing school I met other friends who are Sikhs and Muslims, and realized that as I grew older, while many of my friends in India are also Sanatanis, their practices are distinctly different. I must acknowledge that while we prayed so many times during the day, I did use the bedtime prayer to chant the prayers I had learnt at home, and I read the Hanuman Chalisa my mother had given me, for it provided that sense of comfort and a way to connect to my roots amongst the unknown. In all of these differences, I may have not realized it immediately, but over the years, I was there for 6 years, I understood that regardless of our faith, most of our routines are very similar. We prayed as we started our day, before our meals, or before going to bed. It is all an action to thank whom we are connected to for what we have, and it is through them we seek solace and comfort. Regardless of who we are and where we are, all of us are striving to the same goal, but just through different mediums. I want to re-emphasize that it was the security of my own identity that my family had fostered in me that allowed me to embrace and participate in school life that incorporated the Christian practices. Not only that, it was during school time where I had the privilege of also understanding the Sikh and the Muslim way of life. It was at a very early stage of my life where I understood what diversity is, not for its differences, but for my own understanding of how strong my own roots were that enabled me to respect others in their own path of spirituality and their cultures and tradition that extend from that spirituality. I understood quite early on that underneath the layers of religion, we all had a shared sense of purpose and responsibility for the cause of humanity, and in our own ways, we were all pursuing the same spiritual goals. Then I had a new beginning as I moved to Australia as an international student. I came to Melbourne as a 19-year-old, coming from a Sanatani dominant country to a multi-faith society where we were a minority. It was very apparent to me. Initially, the excitement of a new place away from home and the gaze of the parents, while it was at the peak and when the buzz does settle down, you tend to miss home. You tend to miss your community. And of course, you crave for your own community where everyone speaks your language, enjoys the same cuisines, and shares a common faith. Initially, I wasn't really aware of the spirituality of the people in Melbourne. It was very obvious to me that Melbourne is a very multicultural society, as I could see the diverse backgrounds of people I'd met. But I noticed that this faith or spirituality, it was a very personal thing. Unlike in Nepal, it wasn't very obvious. It wasn't something people talked about openly. It wasn't very visible. I saw the churches and I assumed that this is a Christian country. It took a couple of years to understand that many people here are also non-religious, that they don't really follow any religion. But then you also have people who are culturally, linguistically, and religiously diverse backgrounds who do follow their own faiths as well. As an international student, life was very busy. And I must admit, my faith, it did take a back seat. And there was no connection to those daily rituals that I was so accustomed to while I was growing up. I attended and participated in festivals, but they were mainly on a very social and cultural gatherings. And to be honest, the spiritual aspect of those festivals, it wasn't there as much. The absence or the lack of my knowledge of where a temple was in Melbourne also did not help, and nor did I go out of my way seeking it. So the biggest challenge was trying to follow the traditional rituals, which was an integral part of being a Sanatani. However, I always knew that I had my idols that my mother had sent me. She had given me an idol of Durga Ma, which I have now passed on to my daughter as she has moved away to Canberra to pursue her further studies. And she'd also given me a picture of a family's favorite temple, which I still have it with me, after all these years. I would always turn to them to thank them for my good days and always, seek their protection whenever I was going through any challenges. So I was reassured that my belief in my dharma was always a constant. Even as a student, the core values of respecting all life, the value of duty and truth, they have always been my guiding principles. I have called Sydney home for the last 19 years. I have seen how the sense of belongingness has evolved over the years for me. Initially starting my family, it was about making a conscious effort in reinforcing my faith in Sanatan Dharma by conducting the pujas at home, visiting the temples more often, and ensuring festivals are incorporating the spiritual aspect and not just the cultural and social aspect of it. And when the children came along, this became a priority for my husband and I. While we were restricted by our own personal circumstances where I could not continue the daily pujas, we ensured that children were aware that we belong to the Sanatan Dharma and that we are Sanatanis. Temple visits became ever more important. Chanting our prayers definitely got priority. And this is where I noticed the stark contrast between my childhood, where it wasn't forced upon me, where I had organically understood the practices of what we were doing and why we were doing. I think this was the first time in my life where I was confronted with the realization that my children wouldn't be very confident in their faith. Another challenge for us is while we visited temples, it was very different to the temples that we have back in Nepal. But having said that, I always counted my blessings as we had a shared common place for worship. I do want to acknowledge that the children may not know all of the rituals that I grew up understanding, but the respect and the belongingness to that tradition, that timeless tradition that encourages and sees the universal family is everyone, which is the Vasudev Kutumba, is still with them. In my 23 years in Australia, I've seen how circumstances can affect the way you practice your faith. I have felt lost in my practice, but not once did I feel that the blessings and protections of Sri Pashupatinath Baba was absent. Whatever I have achieved, or whichever obstacles I have overcome, it is because of his grace. It was this very confidence in his power that I have been able to respect the diversity that exists in Australia. So facilitating social harmony from belief to action. So talking about that, I think my experience in Australia has made me very resilient. And the core, it was my belief as a Sanatani. Today, as I interact with newly arrived youngsters from Nepal, I encourage them to boldly and unapologetically embrace their faith. I encourage them to have conversations at their workplaces about days of cultural and religious significance. In my workplace as well and other gatherings, acknowledging how important it is for others to understand Sanatan Dharma and my practices, I make a conscious effort in understanding other faiths and their practices. I respectfully ask these questions to not be ignorant about their practices. At work, I strongly encourage teams to have consultation with all stakeholders to ensure we get the accurate messaging. My lived experience over the years has taught me to emphasize on the shared human values that transcends religions or cultures or borders. They are the simple core values of respect for elders, kindness to all, and above all, peace, which I believe are the universal truth found in every tradition. When the foundation of each interaction that I have is based on those values, it really allows me to approach people of other faiths with curiosity and respect, and not with fear and judgment. And I believe that it is the only genuine relationship that can be initiated. And that is the only way we can initiate those relationships. Those relationships can be formed, and most importantly, that those relationships can be sustained. I seem to have lost a slide. Give me 1 second. Bear with me. Can you see this? Perfect. And just to conclude, I wanted to just say, I believe that true unity does not lie in accepting the sameness, but from a deep and sincere respect for our beautiful human diversity. So what has my journey taught me from Kathmandu to the boarding schools to Australia? It really confirms that the surest way to build respect is to first and foremost be securely rooted in our own faith. This faith in Sanatan Dharma was instilled in my childhood, not through coercion, but through devoted, sincere faith in action that I witnessed not only within the confines of my home, but lived it in the community as a whole, and as I breathed it in the air of the Kathmandu Valley. My belief in Sanatan Dharma was and is an intrinsic part of who I am as a person. Through this profound internalized belief allowed me to sit in the church, say the Christian prayers with genuine respect. And it is this deep-rooted faith that has enabled me to better understand other communities and their sincere path to the same divinity, that I may call it in a different name. It is my strong sense of identity of who I am, where I come from, that has been the enabling factor both in my personal life as well as my public service life. As a counselor for Burwood, which is the 5th most diverse community in the world, and we have recently been announced as the world's 16th most coolest neighborhood, I just don't get to talk about harmony or speak about harmony. I actually get to build it together with my community. And the most powerful tool we have here in Burwood is the festivals that we celebrate. I see firsthand how the community comes together with the same sheer joy, whether we are celebrating the Lunar New Year or the Greek Street Festival or the Korea Day or Holi or Tej. We just don't tolerate diversity in where we are. We actually actively participate by coming together and to share the love for food, music, and laughter. It was my faith, which for many years and for many people, the same faith may seem very complicated and ancient, but I think it is my responsibility to bring awareness to them that it is this faith that has been my passport to connecting with other people. This is where the philosophy actually meets that practice. Knowing who I am and where I come from, I can wholeheartedly celebrate who you are. So as we gather in the spirit of interfaith unity, I encourage every one of you to reflect on your own roots and understand that it is from that place where that strength is derived to accept, respect, and love one another. It is ever more important to move away from mere tolerance to active curiosity and respect by participating in each other's way of life with genuine intentions. Let us stop building walls around our traditions and start building bridges between them. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sukirti. That was very, very full talk, full and well presented. And it's one of the talks which I'm going to go back to YouTube and listen again, because there was so much in it about your faith, and which is the faith of probably millions, and of course unity and diversity, which is interfaith. So
absolutely,
yeah. So that was.
Thank you, Colin.
No, that was wonderful. Now, if you're happy to stay back for 27 minutes for questions, we use the raise hand button as a way of queuing the questioners. All right. And Jung, your hand is up.
Thank you. Thank you for your wonderful talk. I was so glad to hear the whole story of your life movement. It will be similar to my life, that I went to the boarding house at the Catholic Church, but at the university level. And I also look after the international student. As I was as a project leaders in, international students in Sydney. So by that, whatever time frame, I had the opportunity to work with the international students, and so exposed to the diversities and cultural differences and everything, and talents, extremely talented people. My question is, your country, that's the way you describe, is, and your religion full of God and goddess. And you mentioned about everlasting life. You know, like your gods believe in long life and everlasting and happy life and like a paradise on earth, the way that we perceive, you know, through your talk. But have you ever thought about, is any city or any religion can create one religion that allow people to live forever? Just like a mini God, but not real God, but like mini God. It means that people will never die, never suffer, never have to go through illness and you know, and suffering. So because you is that not clear about what you say, Sanatan, some sort of a doctrine that you follow that talk about ageless and eternal. So therefore people, if follow devotee, they should have an ageless time. They never get old. They should live forever. And why not? We only talk about death because we talk about life. But now if we cut out one subject, we only have one subject to focus, then nobody know about death. That's one thing. The second thing is, because the place that you come from, just like a heaven on earth, so you don't really need the legal system, do you? You don't need police. You don't need jail. You don't need the court cases. You don't need lawyers. You might need doctors, but you don't need lawyers, because the people supposed to be real good and devotees and believe in God and thousands of God around them. Because they're going to do anything that harmful to other people, right? So that's what I want to see, how you align with all these differences. And
thank you.
Yeah, and talk about study. All the you know, now you understand in the old day, there are two major subjects that people study to find a job. First one is English. First one is English. The second is mathematics. So majority of children will want to master English and mathematics so they can find jobs. So they don't go like cyberspace study or nuclear study. They don't go for that sort of study.
Right,
they don't need them, right? At that time. But that's what I'm saying is, life is not like paradise, like you know, you imply. But now people try to talk about nuclear and all that. So there's a different thing in thinking.
Right, Young, stop there. That's enough questions. Security. Yeah.
Thank you, Colin. I think, thank you, Yung. From what I can remember, what you're telling me. So, Sanatan Dharma, when we're talking about life and death, what we essentially believe is our spirit never dies. We are here as the body and mind. The spirit is eternal, and that liberation from the body of mind, and us being this universal consciousness, and that is what exists in each living being. So, you know, this life that we had here, we are here in body and mind. And, you know, when we talk about, you said, you know, they like us living forever, that's not what the whole entire thing about Sanatan Dharma is. We say that we are eternal beings, and this body is just that is present for this particular life. So it's not only the four gods, like I said, the Trimurti is basically the three main deities, but we have so many gods and goddesses, and they are basically the mediums that we use as the pathway to seek that spiritual realization, that this universal consciousness that we talk about it's like this divine energy that exists within each one of us. So when we die, the body dies, but that eternal soul it keeps moving on until that there is no need for it to be reborn at all. So that is where I hope that clarifies it, that, it's not about us living forever as human beings. I hope that clarifies it. In terms of, in Nepal being, for me, it's absolutely heavenly. That's what home does for you, I guess. But like with any society, regardless of where you are, yes, our faith tells you to talk about righteousness, about our karma, about our moral duty. But unfortunately, as human beings, you do tend to get into the social traps of, the wrongdoings. And of course, you will have to have the rule of law in order to maintain, societal, the goods and the bad, I guess, if I can say that. But in terms of a religion, what I'm trying to say is that in Nepal, that we do accept one another for who we are, but that does not mean to say that, we're not saying we are a perfect society or a perfect country. I don't think any country in the world can actually claim to say that, it's because of that social harmony that I've talked about. And I'm absolutely proud of that in Nepal, the harmony that we have. That doesn't mean we are perfect. And I guess that's where the roles of the rule of law comes into play. I hope that answers it.
The thing that you say, universal consciousness, that part is belong to Buddha. Buddha had universal consciousness. That's why he came into the earth as Buddha. So he's not a reincarnation of any other god. So whatever in the doctrine that you study is different from the other doctrine that talk like Buddha is a universal consciousness. And in the context that you describe about ageless and everlasting life, the ageless here do mean that people have physical ageless that need to be kept.
Thank you for raising that, Yun. And I do understand, I'm not here to speak about the Buddhists and their way of life. I'm just letting you know about, us and my personal belief in Sanatan Dharma and what we believe in. Thank you.
So
Thank you. Young, I'm sorry, we have short of time.
Buddhist talk about Buddhist teaching here.
All right, thank you. Ahmed, you're next.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Bata, for your talk. It was very beautiful. And thank you for showing us your life. I'm sure a lot of migrants like you and me have experienced a similar pattern of life from childhood to now to present. And my question is, the Universal House of Justice, the governing body of the Baha'is, has said that Australia could be an example to the world because of multiculturalism and coexistence of all different religions and races. What do you think of that? What do you think of taking Australia as an example for the world for harmony and working together, living together, and those sort of things?
Thank you, Ahmed. When I say about the social coexistence of my home country in Nepal, I'm not trying to say that it is the only country. Australia is doing wonderful things when it comes to multiculturalism. What I can speak of, Ahmed, is not of Australia as a whole. Let's bring it down to the local of Burwood, which is the 5th most diverse, and I am part of Burwood. So I can speak of what we do in our own area. I think the diversity that exists, the cohesion that exists in the Burwood local area is exemplary as well. I wouldn't draw parallels between the two countries. Of course, that has to be taken into context of where we are and the limitations around, where Nepal is and where Australia is. But I absolutely agree. Like with there is a lot more work yet to be done, Ahmed, I must say. Like, for instance, when we talk about religious tolerances, unfortunately, you do hear, the recent the protests that were had, unfortunately, does raise questions about, I've had a lot of conversations around people from my own community where there were a bit of fear and scared about, what does that mean for us in the future? But the only thing that we can talk about or reiterate, Ahmed, is Australia is, it has come a long way in accepting one another. But having said that, I wouldn't say, the job is done. There's still more room to improve. Again, I will bring it back to the lived experience in Burwood. And I strongly believe, Ahmed, that, Australia can be an example in the modern world, in the modern context of, how different diverse communities from different linguistic and religious backgrounds can coexist together. And we need the support, not only with the communities, but it also about having the right support from all tiers of governance too.
Yeah, I totally agree with you that, harmony has to come from grassroots. And perhaps Bearwood community can be an example, a beautiful example for the world, even for Australia.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Ahmed. Rosine.
Hi, thank you, Colleen. Thank you so much, Mrs. Bata, for such a wonderful talk. It's amazing. Thank you. The presentation was very, very nice. And I learned a lot. And it was a coincidence because yesterday I was to a meeting with my friends from the Women Association. And one lady, German, she made a presentation regarding the religion, the Buddhism and the Hinduism and the Christianism. And I had a lot of questions in my head, and you answered to most of them. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
So I'm also about to ask a few more questions, because by listening to the principle of the Hinduism, I truly realized the importance of the unity of religions. Since you mentioned that the Hinduism is like is the channel, is how to contact the divine energy. If I do understood, yeah, through mantras, mudras, yogas. Is that correct? And yeah, I realized that this is even the basic, the beginning, because through the yoga and through the mantras, it's the way for the human being to understand his really nature, who I am.
Really are.
Because if you don't understand who you are, you cannot have a destination. And after understanding who I am, it's easier to continue to go to another dimensions. And these dimensions, it's what is the yoga symbolized through the 7 chakras. And the coincidence is that, for example, in the Baha'i religion, the Prophet Baha'u'llah, he wrote a book which calls the 7 valleys. And when I read the 7 valleys, and when I start to read the writing from the Hinduism, there is a coincidence. So it's a very true explanation of the dimension that a human being can achieve through yoga, through mantras and mudras. It's amazing. So, for example, those 7 chakras, the explanation, when you reach the 7th level, is the oneness, is the connection with the universe, with God. And for example, the one of the precepts of the Baha'i religion is the united of the religions of the whole human beings. So it's really amazing. That's why I would like to know more. I have 2 questions. The first question is that you mentioned gods, yeah, inside the Hinduism. I would like to know if those gods, they were human beings who just reach a certain high level, or are they supernatural beings in the universe that come in connection with the human beings? For example, like in I don't know if you know the Africans practice, it's called voodoo. The voodoo, they have also different gods, but those gods, they are gods, human supernaturals from the nature, and the people, they try to come together with them through rituals and etc. So I would like to know how are the gods from the Hindu religion?
Sure. So thank you, Rosine. I mean, I can see there's a lot of connection. So at the end of the day, I think this is a great platform to be talking about unity at the end of the day, where all of us are on that journey to realize that have that spiritual realization, and we just choose the different methods that resonate with us the most, isn't it? So in Sanatan Dharma, like I said, you have the different paths. You have the Jnana path, where you're trying to seek that realization through knowledge or through devotion, whereas what I follow, I'm mainly more of a devotion path, where I do worship Lord Shiva or Lord Ganesha. That's the path I have chosen to kind of go down that realization of the ultimate truth. In terms of the gods and goddesses, Rosine, again, what I would like to say, I'm not an intellect in terms of Sanatan Dharma. It is what I've learned over the years. So in our Dharma, what we do say that in the past, over the centuries, like many thousands years ago, we have the Treta Yuga, or the various yugs where the gods, so how I mentioned the Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva the destroyer. So when things are not going correctly, it is said that Lord Vishnu reincarnates himself as a human being, and he comes to the earth to do the rights for where things are going wrong. So there was a time when you have read the two epics, we have the Ramayana, and then we also have the Mahabharata. And it's during the time of the Mahabharata where Lord Krishna has come in the form as a human being, and there was a battle between the two groups, and that's where the Bhagavad Gita has come out as well. So when you're talking about gods and goddesses, they're basically so you have Lord Vishnu has taken up the role as Lord Krishna during the age of the Mahabharata, and that's where we get the Bhagavad Gita as well. So we do have gods and goddesses who have come onto the earth. This is our mythological belief as well, that during certain periods of time, Rosine, that they would come on earth, take the forms of human beings to do the rights where things have gone wrong. So Ram came during the Ramayana, Lord Vishnu came in the avatar of Lord Ram. And then during Mahabharata, in the times of the Mahabharata, Lord Vishnu came in as the avatar of Lord Krishna. So we do that. However, I don't know whether you remember in Nepal, I mentioned Kumari, the living goddess. So basically, Kumari is a young girl who's chosen to be the living goddess. So she has that the energy of female inside of her. She is said to be the living incarnation of goddess Taleju, which is one of the Durgas, so one of the goddesses. So when you're talking about whether it's in the human form, so in Nepal, we absolutely believe that in this living goddess that we have this young girl who is a Kumari, and she is absolutely revered, and we pray to her. We believe that she is the protector of our land, and we strongly believe that she is the incarnation of Goddess Taleju herself, that incarnation in a living form. I hope that answers your question.
Very well. Thank you so much. Yeah, and the last question, just quick, I would like also to ask if you believe in the divine covenant, in the oneness of God. For example, in a certain religion, we learn that the human beings and God, they have a divine covenant. And this divine covenant is achieved through the prophets, the alliance. For example, if I don't understand, Shiva or Jiva is the god of the Hinduism. What is his name?
Shiva? Lord Shiva?
Yeah.
Lord Shiva.
Or he's God himself.
He is the God himself. So we've got the main three deities. Rosine is Brahma, who is the creator, Vishnu, who is the preserver, and then we have Shiva as the destroyer. So what we do believe is that Brahma is the one who creates the world, and it's Lord Vishnu who preserves the world. And then when things go really wrong and it's time for that re-energizing or the restarting, it's when, Lord Shiva comes and he destroys and a new world is created. But when we talk about Lord Shiva, it's not only about the creation of a new world. What I do believe is, when we talk about destruction, I look at it as, because for me, in my lived experience, I need to kind of make it relatable to my experience, to where I am now. So when I do worship Lord Shiva, I know it's not only about the end or the destruction of the world, it's the destruction of the stagnation that you feel. It's about transformation. So that's how I see it. So I look at Lord Shiva is the destruction of that stagnation that I may be feeling and that transformation to move on, if that makes sense to you.
Yes, very well. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for the questions, Rosie. Tracy.
Anyway, thank you for your good and wonderful, inspiring talk. And just circling back to the tapestry idea, and in Burwood, I think it's the work you're doing there is very important, because there is so much sort of forces trying to demonize others, people, but we are one. We are part of a tapestry, and sometimes, you know, there's something renewing is being created, but having people who are in positions of power, who actually encouraging that each part is important, but we are part of a bigger picture, is also very important, because we can't just fracture into our individual things, but we also have to value that diversity. If you don't value the differences as well as within that unity, it's like you just want your hand to become a club. You don't honor the fingers.
Yes.
Each part they play.
Absolutely.
So I'm really grateful for you coming tonight, but also I'm very grateful for the work that you are doing and for encouraging that mindset in a position of power in a council, and that Burwood can be a shining light for Australia. And from there to we need those shiny examples. We really do in this time. So thank you.
Absolutely. Basantha.
Thank you very much for coming. Your presentation is really good. Though I come from a Hindu background, I also have to accept that I don't know much about Sanatana Dharma. I also was worshiping Lord Shiva, but now I follow the Baha'i faith.
Okay.
And your presentation is good, but mine is something different from your presentation. We have been doing this interfaith meeting for some time now, is to promote, for a few years now, to promote understanding and tolerance. I just want to know, is there any way that you can support us?
Oh, okay.
To promote this activity, either this council, or is there any other like-minded organization in Burwood with whom we can work with, or is there anything in the council we can be part of and do such kind of work?
I think this is a fantastic platform that we must encourage in terms of the support that I can extend to this wonderful platform. I'm not sure as to how I can do that through the council, because I don't sit alone in the council. It is council as a team. I can definitely take it up with the council and the management to see if there's anything we can do in terms of promoting this, because it happens within our area as well. The other thing, if you don't mind, Vasantha, is I'm very much connected to our community too, the Nepalese community. I do have connections to the Indian community and the Bangladeshi community. If you don't mind, I would like to connect you all, because sometimes, I think I said this when we met you at the Mataji's temple too, is we all seem to work in our own silos. I think it's time when we talk about, the reason we tolerate one another is because we don't know about each other. We know that they exist, but they exist somewhere in the solar system. Like they exist, but we don't know much about them. So I think the best thing I can do at this point in time, Vasantha, and I can get the details of you offline, to try and make this connection with those community organizations where we can, have this open and honest conversation and dialogue about who we are and what we can all contribute to what we are trying to achieve collectively. So that's definitely something I'd be more than happy to do.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I have Nepalese friends, families, and I always wondered why they were so strong in their family. And and in their culture, but also in their outwardness. So now I've got a clue. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Very kind.
But I just had another question about Sanatan Dharma. Just trying to distinguish in my mind or understand compared to Hinduism. Is it like, would all Hindus call themselves eternal or Sanatana Dharma?
Absolutely. Can I just clarify it here? Sanatan Dharma is not different to Hinduism. So Hinduism is basically a term that was given externally for Sanatan Dharma. So I used to call myself a Hindu because there is no mention of Sanatanis or Sanatan Dharma. But when you look back into the initial conversation, when we talk about our faith, it was always about, us being Sanatan Dharma. But then, when I believe, and I may be wrong in this, I'm sure somebody will correct me if I'm wrong. I think through colonization or, then, it became known to us because I think with Hindu, there was a river Indus. And I think the Indus river and the land around it came to be known as the Hindu. And then later on, it got translated into Hindu. Again, I'm not a historical expert, and I'm sure I'll get this wrong. And my sincere apologies to any historical experts who are listening to me online. But I believe we are the same, Colin. There is no distinction between Sanatan Dharma and Hinduism. I am making a conscious effort to go back to its authentic term of being called the Sanatan Dharma. Like even in Australia, we wouldn't really, if we talk about, no one will know Sanatan Dharma. It is known as Hinduism. And I call myself Hindu and I followed Hinduism, but I'm making a conscious effort to kind of go back to its roots and calling it Sanatan Dharma. So yes, you are very much right. Like, it's the same practice, Hinduism, and it's across the subcontinent.
Right, thank you. That's very helpful. I know we're coming to the end of the time and we don't want to impose on you too much.
Colin, I just wanted to ask about Mount Kailash. Is it in Nepal, isn't it?
No, Vasanta, it's actually in China. So if we have to go to Mount Kailash, which is, so for everybody's knowledge, so we know Lord Shiva, his home is actually, he resides on, so we believe that he resides on Mount Kailash, which actually is located in the Himalayan range, but it's physically situated in China. So if we have to go to Mount Kailash, it'll have to be via China, Tibet and China. And from India as well, you have to go through China. So it's actually in China.
People go through Nepal.
Mount Kailash. Yes.
All right. Well, I think we'll just wrap it up at this point. And I noticed that we have people here from Africa and Europe, Malaysia, Canada, some from Australia. So I think it just occurred to me, it was just nice to have all these words of unity sort of circling the globe in a sense.
Colin, before you close up, anyone who wants to ask any question who has not been, say something, who have not asked any question, you want to give them 2 more minutes?
Out of my mercy, yes, you have. All right. I'm not seeing any hands go up, but
it's my hand.
Colin, I just wanted to ask if Mrs. Bata can do another topic again.
Is that my hand?
That's very kind of you, Corinne, but I'm not sure if I'm an expert in anything as such, but this was just, I wanted to share, how my faith has guided me through life. And it was just about speaking about my own lived experience. But in terms of, and I wouldn't know what to present on because this is such an esteemed platform. You do want to really, give that value to your audience. And I'm not quite sure whether they want to hear about my life again, but that's very kind of you, Rosine. Truly appreciate, very humbled. Thank you.
Look,
thank you, Rosine. Can I ask Rosine a question, please, quickly?
All right, go ahead.
Let's talk about the 7 Valley. I just ask somebody who can answer me this question. The 7 Valley, can we do a shortcut travel from value number 1 to value number 7. And we don't have to go through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's one question. The
Roseanne,
second,
that'll be your next topic.
the second will be the power in the hand of the people. That's why we have election. So we'll all of you never forget about election. And I have to remind you the power in the hand of the people. Thank you.
Perhaps we can have a speaker and talk about the 7 ballets of the Baha'u'llah, which is very important to understand.
Good.
Colin, if you don't mind, I'll ask a question from Counselor. You know, you said that you were brought up in a Christian school and you had Muslim friends.
Yes.
Since then, have you been able, or have you desired to go look deeply into the principles of Islam, or maybe even Baha'i faith, if you have heard of Baha'i faith before? I mean, have you gone looking at the various religions in depth?
Unfortunately, Ahmed, I haven't. I must be honest. So I haven't gone out of my way to kind of understand what that faith actually means, or the principles or values. What the school really taught me was to appreciate each one in their own journeys, their own spiritual journeys. I must make an effort to try and understand the others a lot more. But what is happening in my own life around at the moment is I'm also reflecting back into my own faith about, what does that really mean to me? So there is a lot of, reflection happening around my own faith itself, because like I said, coming to Australia, making a lot more conscious effort to understanding who I am, where I am. So I am at this point in time where I am also looking at, what does Advaita Vedanta talk about when it comes to Sanatan Dharma. So I am doing a bit of exploration. And you're right, Ahmed, while I do appreciate my friends, and we celebrate each other's festivities, and we have this we share the same sense of joy, but I haven't really gone into the deeper meaning of what the faith actually means.
All right, thank you. That's a lovely answer. All right, well, thank you everybody for participating, and thank you very much, Councillor Sekirti Bata. Wonderful presentation.
Thank you very much.